Hit and Don't Get Hit asks a really good question, which I should have answered. What actually is vibe coding? It's a really good question. Thank you for asking. Vibe coding it's a term that was coined only a few months ago by a guy called Andrej Karpathy. So let me pull up his exact definition. No, AI overviews. I'm going to click on a link this time. I'm going to go to Wikipedia. Vibe coding is artificial intelligence assisted software development style popularized by Andrej Karpathy in early 2025, I think February 2025. It describes a chatbot-based approach to creating software where the developer describes a project or task to a large language model like ChatGPT, which generates code based on the prompt. So previously, when you wanted to create software, you had to be able to speak the language of computers. There are many languages. Python, for example, is a programming language that I can use to speak to a computer. So for the last few decades, that has been how we interfaced with computers. We had to learn their language. Vibe coding changes this. So because we have large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, etc., what's happened now is we can now use natural language. Natural language is the fancy term just to refer to how we speak. Actual language, it's an engineering term, or software engineering. They call it natural language, but it is just language. We can use English to talk to our machines now, which allows us to communicate without having to use the machine language. We use the human language instead. So vibe coding is basically an extension of that, where let's say I want to build a basic application which acts as a timer, and I can have it running on my desktop in Chrome, and it helps me to break up my study sessions into Pomodoro sections of 25 minutes or whatever. I want to create a piece of software. So previously, I'd have to work out how to do that using something like Python or JavaScript, and then deploy it and build it all myself. Now with vibe coding, I can talk to a tool and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And I would literally use natural language to say, I want to build an application that allows me to monitor my study time. Maybe I want a cute 8-bit art style and it needs to work in Chrome. Go. And the AI will not only tell me how to do that, it will go a step further and actually build that for me. So this is a little bit different to the normal use of ChatGPT. Generally with ChatGPT, we're moving away from this, but generally, when you talk to ChatGPT or talk back, you go back and forward, but you would still need to copy things out to go into your software development tools in order to paste in the code, for example. With vibe coding tools, so we're talking things like Lovable, we're talking Bolt, Replete, and Cursor, which is slightly different. I'll talk about that in a moment. We talk to the large language model like ChatGPT or Claude, and it will do the work for us. So it will say, okay, I've got it. And then it will make files for you. It will put them in the right order. It will write the code, connect the code to each other, connect it to a database. It will do all of that work for you, which allows us to now build software using natural language. So that's the vibing part of it. You can literally sit back, grab a beer, and have a chat with these tools in order to work out a piece of software. Whereas before you'd be hunched over the keyboard, typing in all of the commands, typing in all of the lines of code manually. That is no longer the case. What this allows us to do is, even if you are not a highly technical coder, even if you haven't spent years learning programming languages and front end and back end and how to build databases, etc., even if you don't know any of that, you can now build right now, in the next 5 minutes or so, you can build a piece of working software. That's vibe coding. That's the exciting part of it. I was talking, I think it was yesterday or a couple of days ago, about Greg Eisenberg. He's an entrepreneur. He tweets a lot. He talks about the new economy, the AI economy. And he talked about a meeting that he was in where most of them were having a traditional meeting where you talk about ideas, what we're going to do. You set up a plan, and then, oh yeah, we'll test these things out. You divvy up responsibilities, etc. And they were talking about a new project, and they were doing it the old-fashioned way, just having a meeting, a very unproductive meeting. And one guy in the corner, he was just sitting there tapping away on his keyboard. And halfway through the meeting, he said, "Oh, I've done it. I've built it." The thing that they were discussing, that they were all going to go away and brainstorm and have focus groups and work together, he had just gone ahead and vibe coded that idea in the meeting. So instead of all of that time being wasted, he had a very basic version that they could play with, they could kick the tires off, they could decide whether it is a good idea or not. Vibe coding allows us to move at that kind of speed, extremely fast. And it allows us to put together a minimum viability product, an MVP, very quickly. And we can show that to investors. We can show that to beta users. We can use it to start to gain feedback about what it is we're building. Again, the 10-week course I'm writing right now, it's all built on vibe coding. It's all built on speed and deploying something very quickly, even if you are not a coder. Now, the problem with vibe coding, and this is why the T article about the T app was interesting, was that just because you can build a piece of software with a tool like Lovable or a tool like Cursor does not mean it is ready to be deployed straight away. There are certain things like securing user data or connecting to a payment processor that if you don't get right, it's going to leave gaps in your code. And people who know how to hack, people who know how to get into your software will be able to do that. And because you're vibe coding, you don't necessarily know what you don't know. You don't know what checks you need to do before taking something live. So it has put some applications at risk of being compromised and user data being stolen. It's a relatively easy fix, though. There's a couple of things you can do. And this is more advanced. I just recommend going and playing with vibe coding initially and building your own internal tools first. But if you did want to deploy something that you're going to sell, at that point, what you need to do is do a security audit. And that can be as simple as giving a checklist to your vibe coding tool and saying, hey, we need to do all of this. Help me do all of this. I don't know what it means. And the vibe coding tool will help you through the process. That's probably the first step. And after that, if you are going to be selling, if you're going to be turning this into a business, you can pass your app, your code over to a professional who can secure it and make sure that it is watertight. There is an increasing problem in the market where a lot of traditional coders are either refusing to work with vibe coded apps or they're charging more, because sometimes vibe coding can lead to something that is non-optimal, or spaghetti code, we can call it. The traditional coders are like, okay, I'll fix it, but it's going to cost you more. In part, this is a fear response, because if you are a coder right now and you're looking at these vibe coding tools, there is a very good reason why you should be concerned, because you might have spent the last decade learning these programming languages, and now suddenly any idiot, someone like me, can come along and create a working piece of software in an hour or so. So if you are a coder who's dedicated your life to this, that's scary. So vibe coding is very contentious for this reason. The traditional coders who have dedicated their life to this skill, lots of them hate it because they're fearful. This is a very logical reason. Some of them, quite a few of them, are also embracing it, because if you combine traditional coding experience, traditional software development experience with vibe coding tools like Cursor, for example, you can do a lot of work very quickly and very well. So they're going to be the people who win. I think for somebody who never tried it before, though, just go ahead and play around with it. You don't need to do a course. You don't need any permission. Just go and sign up for something like Lovable. Lovable is my favorite. I'm not sponsored, but if you want to sponsor me, Lovable, go for it. I'd love to. I love the tool anyway, so why not? You will literally have a chat bar, ChatGPT, where you're going to type in what you want to build, and it will, like magic, put together the first version of that for you. I recommend just trying it out. It's free to test it out. So that was a very long way around and about the houses of explaining vibe coding. I would say just play around with a tool and you will very quickly be like, oh, I get this is awesome. It's a bit like when you first used ChatGPT. I think everyone had that ChatGPT moment where maybe it happened with GPT 3.5, maybe it was 4, maybe it was GPT 4.0, whatever it was. For a lot of us, there would be that one moment where we tried it out. We're like, oh, what's this new AI thing? And we play around with it and be like, oh, okay, this is cool. You will have that moment when you try vibe coding for the first time, because it creates something from nothing, which is genuinely exciting. It's a moment of creation. So go and have some fun. Lovable.dev. Burning Daylight said, I've learned AI coders are not great at troubleshooting. Yeah. So this is one of the big problems with vibe coding in general. I like to call it whack-a-mole. So sometimes you will fix a bug, and in fixing that bug, another bug will pop up. Sometimes a bug that you fixed a few days ago. There are ways to work around this. Personally, I use Gemini because Gemini has a huge context window. So it's able to hold a lot of the code base at the same time. So it's able to see different parts of the code base and make sure it's not changing things. You can also explicitly say, okay, we're working on this problem right now. Do not change any of the other things that we have worked on. And you can specifically say, do not change this module, etc., so that it doesn't break other parts. But at the end of the day, code is complicated. When you're building a large, complicated program, there are going to be dependencies, things that connect to each other. AIs tend to hyperfixate on the problem that they're fixing right now at the detriment of other parts of the code. So they can break other parts of the code, and you end up in this kind of death loop almost, where you're fixing one thing, which breaks two other things, and then you fix them, and then five other things are broken. When that happens, I generally, one, start a new chat. Two, make sure that I have a running to-do list, and I ask the AI to refer to that every time it does anything. It's go and check the master plan, go and check what we've done already, and make sure you're not duplicating your efforts, make sure you know what's already been done. And that kind of helps keep it on track. The other thing is, this is a best practice thing, is to do one small task at a time. So it's very tempting with vibe coding to give it commands. Okay, build me an e-commerce system, or build me a customer relationship management system, which you can do, but it's going to be an absolute mess because it's too large a task to do in one go. So instead, we want to break down the task. I normally do this in Claude. So I'll say to Claude, hey, I'm coding a customer relationship system. This is what I want it to look like. I want it to be a bit like HubSpot. I want to be able to collect user emails. So I'll give it all the specifications, work that out in Claude, and then say to Claude, give me a staggered development schedule. So what can I build step by step by step, testing each part to see if it works before moving on to next. And it will give me 10 to 20 steps. And then I will take that over to Lovable. I'll take that to Cursor, whatever I'm working in, and work step by step through the problem, each time checking to make sure the previous step hasn't broken everything, and then moving on like this. Also, make sure to use GitHub if you are not already. So anyone who doesn't code, Hub is, how do you describe it? GitHub is version control. So like when you save a document in Word, you can actually access previous versions of that document. So maybe there are 20 different drafts that you've kept. This is really important in coding because you want to have multiple points that you can roll back to. Just in case something goes wrong, you can actually roll back to previous points, see if the problem is still there, and work from there. So GitHub allows you to save all of your code in the cloud in a GitHub account. I believe, Lovable has a connection to GitHub, so you can synchronize it, and definitely Cursor does as well. And that means that if you do hit a death loop, if you do hit lots of bugs that basically derail you, you can always roll back to a previous version that you know works, and then you can try again from there. But yeah, AI coders are not great at troubleshooting. That kind of requires the human to know the best practices for being able to work through that. That said, learning those best practices is a lot easier still than learning to code from scratch, but there still is a learning curve. There's no way around that, really.